Hey, it's Jag. Welcome to this week's Midweek Musing. So, what mistake did I make? Before I answer that question, I'll give a little bit of a background. I'm a lefty. I'm left-handed. I don't do everything left-handed because when I grew up and went to school, grade 1 to be exact, my grade 1 teacher was older than dirt, and she was from a time when people believed that being left-handed, well, they called it the sinister hand or the hand of the devil. So they believed if you were left-handed, you were evil, inherently evil. And this teacher believed that and terrorized me about it my entire first year of school. At the time I went to school, I won't date myself by saying when that was, but it was a while ago. That sort of thinking was so prevalent that my mother even wrote on my admissions form or whatever they had that was the equivalent of that at that time, that they were not to change my hand of preference for writing. Of course, this grade 1 teacher so believed that I was evil for being left-handed, she disregarded that completely and made me write with my right hand. Not only that, I got blamed for everything that ever went wrong in that class. And at that time, you could also be punished physically. So I would get knuckles wrapped with a ruler if I was writing with my left hand. If she was not in front of me, she was coming up from behind me, she would cuff me across the back of the head for writing left-handed. So I don't want to go too far into that, just to say that is part of the background, and it does pertain to the mistake I made yesterday. Now, so anyway, as I said, I am primarily left-handed. I don't do everything left-handed as a result of that. I do write right-handed most of the time. I can write left-handed and almost as well as I do with my right hand, although I don't do it that often. A fork or a spoon, I cannot use them with my right hand. My food will end up in my lap. Even as far as sports, in hockey, I was a left-handed shot, but for some reason in golf, I'm a right-handed shot. I think that's because there was a few years between those two things when I did them. So anyway, part of the result of having that flip-flop, having to switch from my dominant hand and then make my non-dominant hand become my dominant hand, by the way, in Latin, this is dexter, this is sinister. Sinister simply means left side in Latin. It's interesting to me that people who can use both hands are ambidextrous. They have two correct hands. Other than what would the word be? Ambisinistrous? I think from now on I'm going to call myself ambisinistrous. I have two left hands. Two hands of the devil. So you can sign off now if that offends you. I'm sorry. It's just a joke. So anyway, along with switching that, you don't just switch your dominant hand. Your whole brain has to do a flip-flop. And when you are 6 years old, that's a time when your brain is starting to form. You're becoming aware. You've got your cognitive abilities are developing, and all of a sudden everything that your brain has been wiring for, 6 years before has to do a flip-flop. The result of that for me was I already had a stammer when I was younger. I won't call it a stutter. I think there's a difference between those two things. But I had a stammer. My stammer became much worse. And if you look at examples of me writing things, the early part, and I have some of those things from grade 1, the early part where we were starting to learn the alphabet, and I was writing with my left hand, I would get things right. And then after I was switched, you would see that I would get things wrong. In particular, shorter words, is, as, the, was. You see me all of a sudden start spelling those things backwards or jumbling up the letters. For example, to this day, I often write the T-E-H. A couple of other words I always spell wrong are that or test, things that end in the same letter as they start with. I often spell test T-S-E-T. I often spell that T-A-H-T. So that I believe was fed by this forced switch of my to using my passive hand. Another part of that is I will often say things exactly opposite to the way I'm thinking of them. So a few videos ago in the tri-watt build, I said I was going to do a midweek musing on how to identify the outside foil on foil capacitors. And I did that yesterday. The problem was I realized I hadn't prepared that ahead of time. It was Wednesday, which is generally the latest day I would like to release a midweek musing. I try and release them on Tuesday. If I don't get them out till Wednesday, then that's fine. But yesterday was Wednesday, and I realized I hadn't done this yet. So I had a 20-minute spot to just really quickly film that. So I went through it really quick, but I was under stress, and that's often when I will get things backwards. An hour later, I had enough time to quickly edit it, about 20 minutes or half an hour. So I edited it. I went through the whole thing without actually realizing that I had said completely opposite to what I intended to. In other words, what I was saying was the outside foil of the capacitor was actually the inner foil of the capacitor. So I got everything kind of exactly wrong. When I finish a video, I always put it up as a non-visible, as a private video on my YouTube channel first, and then I will go and I will watch it 4 or 5 hours after I'm done with it, just to make sure I don't have anything wrong. And I'm very cognizant of this trait that I have of getting things exactly wrong, even when in my mind I'm thinking of them the right way around. So I did that last night, but apparently when I loaded it up to YouTube, I actually set it immediately as a public video. Well, within an hour of putting that up there, I had a subscriber say, "I'm confused about that. What are you saying? Can you clarify this?" So I went and looked at it, and I realized, oh my God, I did it. So immediately I deleted that. And I'm sorry to the subscriber who asked the question. I deleted that video, which also deleted your comment. At any rate, I did that whole video really quick and under duress, and it just was wrong. It had wrong information, and I thought, well, should I just put labels on there? And every time I say this lead, put a label up that says, no, actually that lead. That would be maybe funny, and today being traditionally April Fool's Day, it might even fit. But I think down the road it actually will lead to confusion. I think a lot of these things can be confusing enough. So I want to be really clear on those sorts of videos. So I will reshoot that video sometime, maybe next week, maybe the week after. But for now, I took that down. And I really appreciate that you gave me that input. I won't mention your name here because we haven't communicated directly, and I don't know if you want that kind of attention. But anyway, that's the mistake I made, and I will fix that.